What's up guys, it's Bree here from Neighbourhood. Do you wish you could measure the time between two different dates in your HubSpot? Maybe it's a create date and a close date on your deals. Or maybe it's how long someone has spent in a nurture. Well, I have just the thing for you today. Today we're going to talk about how to create calculated properties, specifically using the time between function in HubSpot. Before we get started, just a quick note that calculated properties are only available for professional and enterprise subscriptions only, so just keep that in mind before following this how-to. If you want to take today's lesson offline, there will be a downloadable PDF in the description below that will take you through everything we talk about today. Alrighty, let's get into it. Okay, to get started, what we're going to do is start in the settings area in HubSpot because we're going to get into creating some properties specifically for this. Now, for this example, what I thought is a really good example is measuring the time between a create date and a close date in a deal pipeline. And why that is a really good one to start with is because you can start having a look at how long deals are spending in your pipeline, and you can start to figure out why that may be, whether it's their industry or something else. So Dom and I actually talked about this in our previous hug, so if you want to, you can go check that out as well. But let's get into this one. So where you want to go is into settings first, and then we're going to go into properties. From here, we are specifically looking at deals and the time between deals. So we will want to make sure that when we're selecting the object that we go into deal properties here. Now, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have the two properties that you're measuring the time between. In this case, we've got the create date and we've got the close date. Now, I know HubSpot already does this automatically. They already have these set up, but just to show you, we've got the create date here, so I can confirm that that's there, as well as we'll just search for the close date as well, and we've got that. So now that we've confirmed the two properties, we can get into creating our calculated property. If you are going to create your own properties, just make sure you're using the date picker specifically, as that's going to help with that calculation there. So creating a property, the group will do deal information, and we're going to label it something quite specific. So time between create date and close date. And for the description, I usually just note that it is a calculated field so that I know HubSpot is the one calculating it for me between create date and close date. Alrighty, so we're going to click next, and this is where we're going to select calculated field. So if I scroll down here, we've got the values and calculation. Now within build calculation, I do know that HubSpot will be updating this area very soon, but it should be mostly the same from what you're seeing right now. So we've got a couple of different things we can choose from. We've got a custom equation. We can find out the absolute minimum of a property. We can find out the absolute maximum of a property. We can count things. So for example, if you want to count how many contacts have that specific property that is known, it will do that. We can sum properties up. We can find the average, we can round down, round up, and round to nearest as well. But for this one, we're looking at the time between two certain dates. And when I select that, a couple of things to note is that HubSpot does store it in milliseconds, but it will display it in days or months if that is how long it has been, but the data is stored in milliseconds. So when you're clicking the start date and end date and you're measuring the time between those two dates, what you're basically doing is selecting a deal property that is a date property. So remember, we're doing the create date and we're also doing the close date as well. On top of this, something very cool you can do is actually create a condition. So if this condition is known or is true, then HubSpot will calculate that property. So this is helpful if you just want to hold off on calculating a property until a certain point is reached. So for example, this one, maybe I do not want this to be calculated until we've reached the deal stage of closed. So we'll try finding an example here. So closed one, for example, and then we're going to click create. All right, and there we have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have just learned how to create a calculation property, specifically measuring the time between two certain dates. Now, if you're after a PDF version of what we have gone through today, make sure to grab it in the description below. If you feel like you learned something new today or are keen to see our next HubSpot how-tos, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment as well. If you'd like us to touch on anything specific in these HubSpot how-tos, just let us know. And that is all from me, guys. Happy HubSpotting. See you later.